My mother-in-law blamed me for my baby's deformity. I'm 28 years old and married to my husband, Mike, who is 30. We have been together for 3 years, married for 1. And until recently, I believed we were living a quiet and happy life. A few weeks ago, we welcomed our first child, a baby boy named James, and what should have been the most joyful moment of our lives quickly turned into a nightmare because of my mother-in-law, Linda. Linda is 55 years old, and from the very beginning, she made it clear that she hated me. I come from a working-class family, while Mike's family is wealthy, and to Linda that difference was unforgivable. When Mike first introduced me to his parents, I immediately felt judged. Linda barely shook my hand, gave me a tight, fake smile, and looked at me like I didn't belong in her house. During dinner, she asked endless questions about my parents, my job, my education, and my plans, and every answer I gave seemed to make her more irritated. Later that evening, I overheard her telling Mike that he could do much better than me and that she already had other women in mind for him, including the daughter of one of her rich friends who was studying law. Mike defended me, but in that moment I realized Linda would always be a problem. Mike and I met at a charity event. He came with friends, and I was volunteering as part of my nursing program. We bonded instantly because we both genuinely loved helping people. Mike was different from anyone I had dated before. He was kind, calm, and never cared that I wasn't from a rich family. In fact, he admired how hard I worked to become a nurse. Our relationship moved fast, and within a year, we were talking about marriage. Mike warned me that his mother could be difficult, but I was not prepared for how cruel she would become. When we got engaged, Linda completely lost control. She tried to convince Mike to delay the wedding, saying we were too young and rushing things. When that didn't work, she tried to force us into having a massive, expensive wedding we couldn't afford, just so she could impress her social circle. Mike refused, and we had a small wedding that we actually wanted. Linda was furious. During her wedding speech, she smiled sweetly and said she hoped that one day I would rise to their family standards now that I was joining them. It was humiliating, but we tried not to let her ruin our day. After the wedding, Linda's behavior only got worse. She showed up at our home without warning, criticized our furniture, my cooking, and even the way I folded laundry. She openly told Mike that marrying me had lowered his status and that our future children would be ordinary because of my background. She even tried to set Mike up with other women while we were already married. One time, she brought another woman into our home and introduced her to Mike as if I wasn't even there. Mike was furious and didn't speak to her for weeks. Despite all of this, Mike and I were genuinely happy together. I was promoted to senior nurse at the hospital, and Mike was doing well at work too. We wanted a baby, but we decided to wait until we felt ready. When we finally announced that I was pregnant, Linda didn't congratulate us. She just said she hoped the baby would look like their side of the family. She insisted on attending all my doctor appointments, questioned my choice of doctor, criticized the vitamins I was taking, and constantly implied that I didn't know what I was doing, even though I work in healthcare. As my due date got closer, her behavior became unbearable. She demanded that I move in with her for the last month of pregnancy because she claimed she didn't trust Mike to take proper care of me. I refused, and it caused a huge fight. Labor was extremely difficult and lasted 36 hours, but Mike never left my side. When James was finally born, we were overwhelmed with love. He had thick dark hair just like Mike. We stayed in the hospital for 2 days. I was exhausted, but incredibly happy. Mike called our families to let them know we were coming home soon. Linda immediately announced that she would come over to help, even though we clearly told her we wanted some time alone to bond with our baby. When Mike drove us home, I thought the worst was behind us. I was wrong. As soon as we pulled into our driveway, my heart dropped. All of my belongings were thrown across the front lawn. My clothes, books, and nursing uniforms were scattered everywhere, clearly visible to the neighbors. Standing in the doorway was Linda, smiling like she had just won. I felt completely numb. Mike told me to stay in the car with James while he went to confront her, and as he walked toward the house, Linda suddenly started screaming at the top of her lungs, calling me a cheater and saying she always knew I was unworthy of her son and that now she finally had proof. After everything that had happened, Mike and I realized we needed a solid, long-term strategy to protect ourselves and James. The past 2 years have been a relentless storm of emotional stress, legal battles, and constant threats from Linda. Every day felt like walking a tightrope, knowing that one wrong step could trigger another attack from her. We decided to take control, starting with legal and practical measures. We consulted our lawyer and went over every possible scenario. We fortified the restraining order against Linda, making sure it covered not only our home, but also James's daycare, medical appointments, and even any public areas she might try to access. We wanted to make absolutely certain that she could not get near our son without our knowledge. Our lawyer also advised us to document everything: calls, messages, visits, even minor incidents of intimidation. Every detail mattered. While Mike handled the legal side, I focused on our mental and emotional health. I began attending therapy regularly, working through the lingering fear, anger, and exhaustion that Linda had caused. Mike continued his own therapy sessions, which helped him separate his guilt from reality. We both realized that protecting James meant also protecting ourselves. If we broke down under the pressure, we could not care for him effectively. Emma, Mike's sister, remained our anchor throughout all of this. She helped care for James, took him on walks, played educational games with him, and most importantly, was a mediator whenever family tensions arose. Her support allowed us to catch our breath, and she became an essential part of our defense team. Together, we created strict rules for any contact with Linda. She could only be around James under supervision, and only when both Mike and I were present. Linda, however, did not surrender easily. She began trying subtler forms of manipulation, sending gifts, writing letters, claiming she just wanted to make peace. At first, Mike almost believed her. We allowed her limited supervised visits, hoping she had truly changed. But the illusion didn't last. During one visit, she attempted to take James out of the house while Mike stepped away for a moment. My mother, thankfully visiting at the time, immediately intervened, preventing a potential disaster. Police involvement followed, and Linda was formally reprimanded, her restraining order reinforced. That incident finally demonstrated the real danger she posed, not just to us, but to James as well. Meanwhile, Mike faced new challenges at work. His reputation had been undermined by Linda's interference. Fake resumes, misleading emails, and false rumors made it almost impossible for him to secure a stable position. But his determination and competence eventually won out. He landed a part-time job initially, which wasn't ideal but kept us afloat, and later transitioned to a permanent position with better security. Financially, we were still stretched thin due to legal costs, medical bills, and the general chaos Linda had caused, but we slowly began to stabilize. James, despite the chaos, flourished. He grew healthy and happy, learning new words daily and forming bonds with Emma, who became a second mother figure in many ways. Though he would never have a normal relationship with his grandmother, we focused on surrounding him with love, safety, and stability. Each milestone he reached, first steps, first words, first day at preschool, was a small victory against the storm Linda had tried to create around us. Over time, Linda's influence waned. The legal boundaries and police involvement made her realize that her actions could no longer go unchecked. She called and wrote less frequently, and the intensity of her harassment decreased. We cautiously allowed supervised contact under strict rules, but only because we hoped that if handled correctly, it might teach her the limits of acceptable behavior. Mike's father finally began to see the full extent of the damage Linda had caused, both to him personally and to the family as a whole. He offered financial help reluctantly, and with his guidance, we were able to pursue therapy sessions for the entire family. These sessions were challenging. Linda often cried, pleaded, and even attempted to manipulate the therapist. But slowly, through repeated professional guidance and strict boundaries, even she began to see the consequences of her actions. Now, 2 years after the first explosive incident, our family has started to find a fragile equilibrium. Linda is no longer a constant threat. Her access is strictly controlled, and we have legal protections in place. Mike and I have strengthened our marriage, having survived the storm together. Emma remains our steadfast ally, and James thrives in a stable, loving environment. We have learned hard lessons. Sometimes blood does not guarantee loyalty or kindness, and protecting your family may require legal, emotional, and practical measures. But the most important lesson is this: standing together as a family, setting firm boundaries, and refusing to accept toxic behavior is not only necessary, it is a form of love. Life is still far from perfect. Financial stress lingers. Mike occasionally relives the frustration of losing years of potential career stability, and the scars from Linda's harassment remain. But for the first time in a long while, we feel a sense of safety. James is growing up in a home filled with love, and we finally have hope that our family can flourish without fear. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this story crazy or shocking, drop a comment below with your thoughts. I'd love to hear what you think. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more unbelievable storytime content.